for a second. Whoa. Getting ahead of myself there. Let's get right into it, my friend. Band start now. CYCLOPS will be handling the defense initially. And what do they want to remove? They want to remove Zero. And this is an operator that we see happen come into play so very often on Chalet. And we've also seen him quite a bit today overall.
Yeah, and certainly a very heavy pick for the Sonics, so we'll be targeting against them to a certain extent. But as you said, more of a secondary concern next to the universal usefulness we get from Zero on a map like Chalet. Thatcher is out once again, though, allowed to sneak through in the previous map, but no longer going to be the case. Valkyrie also still down for the count here as far as our bans are concerned. Also a lot of use on this map, just like on the previous one for Constance, so she'll be knocked out nice and quick by the Sonics roster. CYCLOPS have the final ban. Let's see who they're going to remove.
It's going to be very interesting to see the ban list after the first day. The stats tomorrow are definitely going to show a lot when it comes to these different regions and what's happening here. But either way, CYCLOPS coming in with the last ban right now. What do they want to remove? They want to remove the Malusi,
so which is same ban they did earlier today,
yeah. And again, when we talked about it originally, I still feel the same way, even though it is Chalet. I don't think the map changes up at all. I honestly think that that's kind of a waste of a ban, personally speaking, especially you know, going up against a team like the Sonics, right? Here's the thing. She's a great operator, but on top of that, there's a lot of other things on defense that take precedent over her when it comes down to it. So, you know, it's just kind of difficult to argue that. But obviously, this is a CYCLOPS game. This is not our game. They choose to remove the Malusi, and that is going to be the way that it breaks down. CAG obviously going to be starting things out on defense. They're going to be going to the master office.
Gryxr trying to play a little bit of diplomacy here inside of this game as he'll give out a call that, yeah, we got your skin, guys. You know, let's be nice this time. Let's not have what happened in the last game going on. I don't know. But as we get into it, very interesting compositions, I think, for both teams here. The Lion as well as the Maverick. We did end up seeing as well there the 6 pick away from the Ying. We thought was going to be brought in to add that extra execute utility to the table, but instead, now we see a Nook come in for Rexen as well. So it adds another wrinkle to things, making it even more interesting, arguably. And the same can be said for the defensive side. We have a Capcan in play right now for gatorada.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a little difficult for Rexen to execute this knock play how he wants to, just because of the amount of traps that are around. Obviously, with the Gryxr as well as Capcan traps spread throughout the entirety of Chalet, it's going to make it to where he can't creep through the building exactly how he could before. And this map, I was actually talking to Alex or Skies earlier, you know, about Nook, and this is one of the maps that he was talking about, that she actually has a very, very solid place inside of this map. And you can't exactly blame him for thinking that way, or really anybody. Such a solid operator, and the ability to get in through a bunch of different areas and sneak up onto people. That's the biggest thing. Lots of stairwells as well. It's just an operator that can definitely find a lot of traction.
Well, the aggression is certainly not going to go missing here for CYCLOPS. Right at round 1, we've got Anitun holding a tough angle from the inside of Library. Does back away from it, though, after Sonics are able to navigate past that without too much of an issue. But that's not the only bout of aggression here. We could see gatorada also on a window angle here to try to find the Sonics as they rotate back around towards the front door. But so far, the Sonics not falling for it. The Sonics not stepping too close to those angles, as they were very well aware this was going to be the case going into the very first round. So making sure that they don't either step into those without checking it first, or just avoiding them entirely, as I think we've seen here for the most part. But still, the first kill will go to CYCLOPS regardless, as BlackRay is going to be able to find the pick against Yeti and remove the Maverick from play.
It's a very nice shot. I'm assuming that was all the way from that bathroom angle, but either way, able to take down Yeti, and that's a big piece of utility here if they can continue to deny the office walls. But right now for the Sonics, they have a long road ahead of them here inside of this round, especially with that early pick. The Sonics tend to slow things down and try and look for a frag somewhere along the map. But either way, though, they've already split the map up and they're beginning work on the office, although it is muted currently, so they'll have to try and figure that out. But they have plenty of soft destruction to be able to handle this situation. Gryxr just something that needs to go downstairs and impact the bottom of that floor. But either way, about 1 minute and 30 seconds in here now, as things have slowed down just a little bit on both ends. CYCLOPS haven't lost a player just yet, but they will now. SuzuC goes down to Gryxr.
See a good trade coming out there. Obviously, CYCLOPS trying to get up close and personal there on the office door itself. Ayagator looking for another exchange in order to keep the team in an advantageous position. Not going to find it. He's going to have to continuously dodge these frag grenades. Gets aggressive right after that, though, and tries to commit to a swing. No one going to be in the open. Potentially be hit by it. However, the Sonics will continue to maintain a 4v4. About a minute remaining on the clock here, and they go very quiet after a lot of explosive noises going off here in order to open up some access, at least in a small extent, leading over into the office. But as you can see, as far as the utility is concerned, a lot more work to do before the Sonics can really press forward and try to take this site.
Absolutely. The good news is that Kanzen still has one of those EU1Ds in his back pocket that he'll be able to use soon and more than likely assist the Sonics in trying to get a plant down. Super already rearing to go right outside the breach as well, but it's going to be Ayagator to try and stop this. Gryxr with the team kill as well is going to knock down the case, and this is blood in the water now for CYCLOPS. They try and get into these gunfights, but oh no, Rexen wins out the initial one. Starting to get low on time now though with only 20 seconds remaining. Gryxr up for the double kill now, down into the 2 versus 2. He's got the cross angle, make it a triple for him, and they know where the last remaining member is. Gatorada has to run for the hills. More than likely a plant going down now.
Trying to make a play here on the Kapkan now. Has a Nitro to chuck out, but it's going to be way too short. Only opens up another rotate angle in this situation for Gatorada. About to get swung upon from the main hallway too. Already taking the fight against Gryxr on the inside of the site. Now Rexen sitting on the outside, and unfortunately the laser gate acts as an advance notice in this situation as well. Only serves to push the Sonics into a more winnable position as they take control of the opening round.
Well, it looks like we're going to be seeing more of this Sonics patience, my friend. They do not want to try and take these gunfights early on against CYCLOPS, and are doing a very, very good job of limiting CYCLOPS' potential as well. Early inside of this round, they're very aggressive out towards the library side, and eventually the Sonics are able to get them to fall back and then break up the map how they want to. It got a little hairy there for just a second, obviously, with the team kill of Super, but they're able to pull it back across the line.
All right, so let's see here now what CYCLOPS will try to do to adjust that. They are going to head downstairs into the bar and gaming room. This is a fairly straightforward site to hold from a defensive setup, assuming you're doing it in the way that we see most teams try to set themselves up with that play over towards the library hold and then kind of rotating it back down through the hatch later on in the round once that specific library position just becomes a little bit too much to hold on to. So curious to see if CYCLOPS have a bit of a different take on that to what at least the two of us normally see inside of the North American region, and we'll get a better picture of that in just a second, as it looks like there is going to be a little bit of play extending outwards over here towards the master side of the map as well.
My favorite thing so far from CAG today is just the operators that they end up playing. Inside of this round especially, quite unique. Obviously, we've gotten used to Frost being back into the meta as she's kind of carved out her own path. You know, a lot of teams using her for these window plays, making it very difficult to decide between, hey, do I gunfight the person that's going to shoot me when I jump in the window, or do I fight the, floor mat? So it's a very difficult situation that it ends up putting you in, but obviously the Sonics more than likely going to be able to deal with that. But across the board, though, still have the Ella in play, and Alibi still on BlackRay as well.
So here we go, Sonics out and about once again here. Let's see what the opening strategy is going to be. You can already see the patience from them, as I'm pretty sure they saw Anitun break in the window right there. So there are 2 players over there by the helicopter pad, I think just going to be sitting back for a couple of seconds, just in case Anitun wanted to be ultra crazy and outright hop out there. Definitely not going to be happening, however, so they'll be able to resume their quest forward after just a moment of making sure nothing went crazy right there. The rest of the team, they're trying to push their way in from the east side of the map in order to get up onto the balcony, get control towards the office once again here. Rexen as well, still working on droning his way in.
All right, so CYCLOPS, obviously waiting for the Sonics' first move here, and it's going to start off on the library side yet again. No real change up inside of the utility department here. Rexen still going to be rocking the knock, so CYCLOPS likely aware that they'll have to worry about somebody creeping around the building. Initial EE1D goes off, but it's not going to get anybody killed. Just some initial information as Ayagator is simply holding things down on the library balcony. Apart from that, though, Anitun currently sitting on blue. He has a deployable shield up top as well to support this position, but the only thing is he's lacking anything that it comes down to explosive denial. So no Midas around this place means that we're likely going to be in trouble later on unless he has something to say about it.
Either way, though, we've reached a very, very tense point in the round here, about halfway through it. Neither team has been able to make any massive forward momentum for themselves here, although the CYCLOPS have certainly been trying, and unfortunately in this situation, failing to pick up those opening kills. So Super, as well as one more member of the Sonics, going to be able to find opening frags. They're both being traded out, though, with Gatorada as well as BlackRay able to frag it right back. Anitun as well with a position here to be able to isolate one out, but no, Super's going to fall next. He goes into a downstate, but the diffuser does go down to the ground, so it'll fall to Kanzen and Gryxr to clutch out the 2v3 in a post play.
Oh, Gatorada, he's looking for it. He wants to go for this hop and see if he can apply pressure outside, but he needs some assistance from down low. Somebody's going to have to distract these Sonics members. Super still bleeding out inside of sight. He'll finally get cleaned up, but not before it's a refrag. Anitun getting one. Gryxr gets the other down into the 1 versus 1 now, and very minimal time for Anitun to try and get this defuse. He's going to stick on it right now. Gryxr hopping 2. He's just going to break up the holes. Actually concussed. Oh, man, the brain on this guy is so big, and that's the round. Fantastic Gryxr using that lifeline to its absolute peak.
Already saw one great example of that type of smart play from the Sonics in their last matchup in a 1vx. Levy nearly able to clutch things out, but I believe it might have been the very same player there choosing the passive route to drop down, play the smart option instead of taking the direct contest. And in this situation, once again, that nets Soniqs the round, putting them up 2-0 against the Cyclops after a very, very close spree of trades goes off at the end of the round.
See, sometimes killing your opponent isn't the only option, you know?
True.
And luckily enough, it is a lifeline, right? So it keeps him alive, but still gives up the round. So good there for the Soniqs. They're able to negotiate that out. But, I mean, fantastic from Gryxr there, especially when it came down to the clutch situation. There's just so many bodies flying around the map. It's difficult to try and keep track of them, even for us. I mean, we have silhouettes, right? So, you know, you got to feel for the Soniqs in that regard, as well as CYCLOPS. They're just trying to find every angle possible to try and fight back, but they simply cannot get it done. And that's why they're going to continue to shift away through bomb sites.
Yeah, now going over here towards the dining room as well as kitchen site. So like we said, continuing to shift their expectations. They'd come relatively close to winning the upstairs hold, and this is just a slight difference from that specific site hold. As obviously you can see here now for Gatorada and a few of the other members, they are going to set up that same type of bunker, obviously with a little bit less of an emphasis on the defense here in that very same position, so they can play out the early and mid rounds in a very similar way to what they did back in round number 1. It's just the fallback and as well the follow up in the actual downstairs sites that they'll have to worry about, because more than likely Soniqs will be able to get the control with the way they've been playing for the past 2 rounds. Speaking of which, the round itself getting started now as the prep phase and Soniqs out on the board. Let's see if they can keep the streak going or if CYCLOPS can finally put themselves on the board here in kitchen.
Okay, so Soniqs top hold here, and 2 very, very armored individuals in the likes of BlackRay as well as SuzuC. So it's going to be kind of interesting, especially from what we understand about CAG and their aggression. Having these 2 anchors is definitely going to be a stark contrast to what a decent amount of people are used to, but obviously that doesn't mean that they have to slow things down. It's still their playstyle, and they have any choice to do whatever they want. So for CAG, though, it is going to be a top hold that's being supported by some mirror windows, but both anchors are going to be actually physically inside of the site. CAG, though, continues to want to hold on to most of this map control. That's a big positive for them. The only issue is that Soniqs have done a very good job of clearing this out thus far.
So let's see here if the Soniqs can continue on that path. About a minute gone from the round. They have not started to encroach into Cyclops territory over here towards Office and Master just as of yet. The rest of the map has been left relatively open for the taking, as we can already see on the library side, with Rexen moving in swiftly with the Super supporting on the drone there, and a few other players taking the balcony and front steps control there for Kanzen also. Now is when things get a little bit more difficult. Now is when they need to fight the CAG roster, and they know that. They know that they're encroaching on their territory. So you can see, aside from Ayagator holding his static position on the inside of Office, at least one with the possibility of a second player also rotated in from further back there. But at the same time, we can see Soniqs still running into issues trying to get access to Ayagator's position. But the Maverick Hole is enough to completely scare him away. He falls back, doesn't even decide to stick around to see what happens with the wall. So we will see quite a bit of hard breach utility used there from the Soniqs in order to get access to that.
All right, well, at least be able to get that open. That doesn't mean that this is over yet, though. Anitun still with some solid positioning upstairs. The only issue right now, though, is obviously mirror window on a soft wall, so that is going to be bangable, which is just a touch scary when it comes down to it. But either way, they'll still be able to at least for some map control up top for right now. E1D out, which means more than likely some pressure coming in soon. That was a flash, or at least a piece of debris that flew by, but either way, it's not going to have any effect over him. And so far, this has been a great hold here from the CYCLOPS. They're wasting so much time.
So much going down the drain. CYCLOPS finally taking a much more passive note on the inside of this round. Playing to harsh angles, don't get me wrong. Still very much ready to take a fight against the Soniqs, but also having no problems delaying that as far down as they need to, as we're seeing right now. 30 seconds, and no one has gone down from either side as yet. Anitun still has upstairs control, tries to go for a little bit of a fadeaway there against Rexen, but not going to be able to connect the full headshot onto him. Regardless, he's continuing to waste time, continuing to cause indecision on the Sonic side of things, continuing to make them second-guess their own pushes. And as we're going to see, they now have to leap into the fight. What a play from Rexen, though, to get him the quick double against both BlackRay and Anitun. Still a lot of work to do, though, and a lot of sight to clear. Not a lot of time to do it. That's a big pickup there from gatorada as that drops the case. Another Nitro Cell kill. Rexen gets his triple. More coming out. Another team kill. But ultimately, it is not enough for the Soniqs to take control. CYCLOPS win it on the null timer.
CAG, not even their own devices. The Soniqs fall to themselves. I mean, a great shot from CYCLOPS to be able to get the case down on the ground. That was the biggest part of that. That was the hand that they had inside of that round that set it up for the Soniqs to lose that. They try and frag out simply because they can't gather control anymore. They grab the case at the last second, and that team kill happens yet again. That's a callback to what happened on Consulate. Unfortunate for the Soniqs, but they gave up their first round.
So a 2-1 lead still going to be under their control as we get into the later part of the first half here. Members of CAG now will start to shift back to the previous sites played into it. Things finally going well for them on the downstairs hold inside of Kitchen. Let's try the actual site itself, since we were able to play out that part of the map for a large majority of the previous round. It's back upstairs in the master bedroom and office site to try and pick up a second to tie things up.
Another change up here for CAG as well, this time around bringing the Clash, which could obviously be of some pretty good use when it comes down to it, to be honest with you. You know, they have a lot of shields here, and those are more than likely going to be centralized around like piano and some other positionings, but for the most part, this is going to be a nice piece here for CYCLOPS to be able to get some solid information and more than likely capitalize on that inside of gunfights as well.
So let's see once again if there's going to be any interesting wrinkles coming into the fold here for the CYCLOPS defense. Obviously, we do have the Clash being brought into the fold here to be directly in the way of the Sonics, but for those of you who have not been following Siege Balance super closely, Shields did have a pretty significant nerf to their base mechanics a few months ago. So this type of position hold from Anitun and the rest of CAG not going to be as strong as it used to be. Say if we were back a year or so ago here. We'll have to see how well they can leverage it, because they still will have a lot of utility support. And as well, the mobile shield certainly can help out with things.
I still cannot get over Rexen just jumping right into the stairwell.
That was so nice.
That was so incredible. They knew that he was out of ammo, and he just hops to right in the moment. Great stuff, but either way, Sonics still have a long road ahead of them. Only 2-1 right now, and it's only the beginning of the 4th round. Gryxr, though, already going to get set up early, as obviously they are blaringly aware of the situation going on upstairs. This is going to be the site for CYCLOPS, but they still need to be able to get some insight as to what has changed up inside of this operator lineup. That's the biggest thing walking into this is, you know, playing into Office. It'll be great once they get that breach open, but it seems like the CYCLOPS are very prepared for this situation.
So let's see now how the CYCLOPS will try to play this out. If notice we've continued to see them pull back more and more from their more aggressive tendencies, as they seem to have come to a quick realization that this out-and-about playstyle, trying to get in the face of the Sonics, is not going to work in the way that they would have hoped in the early round. So instead, trying to save those fights until a midpoint in the round where they know that they can potentially isolate individual members of the Sonics, take those fights without losing their own players to a trade a few moments later. That's the tough part about trying to get aggressive with the CYCLOPS right now. Sonics usually set up so well to counter that type of aggression that even if someone is able to swing and make a pick happen, it's usually countered relatively quickly. Once again, Sonics trying to make quick work of the wall leading into Office, but unfortunately, Yeti going to have to do a little bit of extra work to open up the possibility. And yeah, that's going to continue to be an issue as long as Anitun continues to stand here.
Well, they still got it. Anitun did his best to try and block the mute jammer, but now the situation that we were talking about previously shows its head, and it's this right here. Anitun playing very forward with both of these laser gates. This breach now open to create a lane right here through Office that he's going to be managing with that Clash shield. Now, the thing is that the Sonics have quite a bit of utility to handle this, not only inside of frag grenades, but as well as the EE1D, and on top of that, direct counter in Zofia.
See here now as we come down to the final minute of the round. Once again, neither team wanting to step into the other's territory here. Gryxr just now starting to swing in, trying to get that stun off onto Anitun, but not connecting, going way too far to the back there. Only dealing a little bit of that soft breach potential, I believe, as it was the destructive pellet coming out of the lifeline there. Another E1D charge going to work its way out for the Sonics as they continue to try and look for opportunities to push themselves forward, but they have not found it as of yet. Anitun continuing to get more aggressive as well with his own positioning there, starting to swing out onto the balcony every once in a while, but finally, after so long, once again, right around the 25-second mark, Yeti strikes first here for the Sonics. Supr going to go in for a plan. He will be stunned out. There's also players lurking around the corner that can very easily deal with him, but they have not been able to find that frag just as of yet here. BlackRay showing up on the flank here. He's going to try to pick up a frag. That won't happen. It's Suzu outside, actually, that gets one for himself on top of a teammate that also picked up a kill. It's a 4v3 in the post plant. Sonics do get it down on the ground, but their positioning is a little bit weak right now. They'll have to be very careful with how they manage the rest of this, especially considering Supr's HP. He'll be bled out. Yeti tries to take the cross signal to deal with the Clash, but it's not going to work out. Now he needs to get on the counter defuse, but he does it! 2 more kills for Yeti, 3 on the round. BlackRay counters it out for back downstairs, and now Kanzen is the last hero left here for the Sonics. He just needs to wait out the next 10 seconds, though. If he can delay that, the round is already going to go to the Sonics just on the timer. There's the aggression, but no, it's caught by BlackRay. With about 3 seconds in excess, Anitun will get the counter defuse, and CYCLOPS will tie up the game.
We finally get to see some of that CAG aggression work out. That piano swing specifically, my God, able to get away with the bag there. Still get the plant down, though. It was kind of a scary moment there for the Sonics walking into that. We saw the silhouette creeping right around the half wall in Office, and I thought at any moment we were going to see Supr lose his life, but there's that shot once again from SuzuC. Absolutely disgusting, but even though Yeti tried so very hard to try and lock that out for the Sonics, it was just not enough.
Well, the Soniqs finally running into a wall here against the Cyclops defense as they've kept it very, very close to the site. In a lot of the same ways that we were seeing from even Team 1 in our previous matchup there. That was a completely different map, but the play style is starting to look a little bit more similar as they hold themselves back. They don't try to throw themselves in the early fight against the Soniqs. And now the Soniqs, once again, facing that same issue they were facing against Team 1 on their own attacks of not being able to find enough potential to execute upon and having to just trade their way to a win. And while it's worked in some rounds, as we've seen over these past two, CYCLOPS seem to have found the answer towards it, and we're going to watch them continue to develop that as they go back downstairs into the bar site one more time here on the 5th round.
The real question is, how does this go once we switch sides? CYCLOPS obviously being quite an aggressive team. This is a map that is offensive favored in most regions that I've seen. So, I mean, we could obviously have something change up here. We have that happen all the time, especially on maps like Coastline, for instance, where it's very, team dependent as to how it's going to end up breaking up. But right now, we're back to practically 0-0. It's tied up. Who is going to jump ahead here? The CYCLOPS still making sure to use some very unique operators, and we might actually end up having a spawn peek happen here as Anitun will be managing the window and Ayagator simply waiting behind him to see if anybody wants to try and hop out. But this could be read out pretty easily. Again, this is inside of Fireplace Hall, and this is usually a hot spot for drones.
Can see a couple bullets starting to go in. They are hitting downstairs though, but now that window's going to be opened up. Ayagator with the potential to re-swing back into this. Does his opponent catch him? No!
Oh.
Notices it at the last second and backs away. That member of the Soniqs saving their own life by mere milliseconds there as Ayagator now is to immediately back away, as does Anitun, to play to a different position.
That was a little terrifying there for a split second, but they're able to get away with it. That's the biggest thing. Well, to keep, at least stay up on 5-5. Going into the 2-minute mark here. The Soniqs, though, going to be taking things slow and steady as per usual. They want to make sure to check all of the boxes. Any of these Cyclops members could legitimately be in any corner across the entirety of this map. We already saw a very unique spot on Clubhouse earlier today from the mute inside of round 1. But now, not going to be the case. They're going to lose a body early here. It's Gryxr taking down SuzuC.
It's a different approach this time for the Soniqs as well. They're working from the bottom to the top, but now issues are going to start to present themselves. Supr trying to work in towards the main lobby. That's the case going down as well. We're brought into another 4 versus 4 situation. Kanzen trying to make up the difference for that as he knows he's got enemies close by, and he's correct to assume so here. Yeti as well, trying to trap this player in, but no, it's the aggression from gatorada, who's also run into the secondary player around the corner out the doorway too. Kanzen has no safe harbor to play into here. He's going to get pressed out. He's not careful, and there we go. Hook line and sinker. gatorada picks up a second one. It's so easy for CYCLOPS, and they bring it down to a 4v2.
We were talking previously about how the Soniqs were worried about the solo plays from CYCLOPS, but now they should be worried about their own solo plays. Unless you're Gryxr, he's able to sneak in the back door and take down one. Obviously still a 2vx here, now a 2v3. Still have one inside of Fireplace Hall, but oh no, lots of trouble coming Rexen's way, and I don't know if he's exactly aware. We'll be able to at least see the clash, but still has to worry about some pressure upstairs. Concussion out, but it's not going to hit its mark, so Anitun will keep that shield in front of him and continue to live his life. Great stuff from get behind the pillar there as well. He's going to avoid the other concussion, so did not see that one coming, but now Anitun starting to light up Rexen. He's already on very low HP, and this is where clash can become such a nuisance, but oh no, Ayagator's going to lose his life. gatorada trying to work it from the top floor now, but the CYCLOPS need to try and fight back. The Soniqs with full site control now and an opportunity to plant. But again, very low HP, and this is where this situation for this 2v2 is going to work out so very well for the CYCLOPS. Anitun continuing to take away at Gryxr's health. He's almost out of that charge. Is going to go away now. They haven't been able to find the safe spot, and I believe at full mass he's going to be able to do something there, but no, has to get out the secondary weapon, but it's not him. It's gatorada instead, and he's locked up Gryxr. He goes for the 180. Oh, does he get the shots? He does not.
It doesn't matter.
Very close, but CAG are able to get away with the round.
Great props to those final 2 players on CYCLOPS there. Beautiful play between the Clash as well as the other members sitting upstairs trying to play that out defensively from the Mira. Never took a risk on the Mira, always kept her in a safe position there, and as well kept the Clash constantly dumping info left and right, never taking any unnecessary risks, making sure they played that out to the full extent of the timer and only executed when they knew they had it locked down.
That's so unfortunate. I am so sorry, Kanzen. Kanzen had the perfect crosshair placement, John. With a rate of fire, the bullets went right on the left side of his head and the right side of his head. Did not send a shot right down lane. Very unfortunate for him, but the star player inside of that last round has got to be Anitun with the amount of effectiveness he found inside of that clash. And you have to feel bad. You have to feel bad for the Soniqs as well. They had the counter. Gryxr goes for the concussions from long range, but the first one misses its mark. The second one hits its mark, but he's behind the pillar, so it doesn't affect him. Completely threw me off as well. I thought that was going to be the clash gone, but they simply could not find the answer.
The CYCLOPS seemingly have had enough of the clash in the meanwhile. They're actually going to switch Anitun off of it back over towards Mine in order to bring more of that nade dealing utility to the table here. Should work out very well when we consider what the Soniqs have brought. Once again, a very similar composition to what we've seen in the past, but you'll note they're going to bring a Jackal into the fold this time as well to try and deal with some of that mobile presence from the CYCLOPS that was causing them so many issues, especially towards the end of that last round, but there's been quite a bit of it in the mid-rounds throughout this entire half as well.
Okay, so last round here for the offensive side of Soniqs. Not going to be changing things up when it comes down to it. Super not having the best game either, and that's obviously in the same boat as Kanzen. Those two just not able to get on the scoreboard in the way that they want to, especially with how they were playing on Consulate. So obviously the Soniqs are a little worse for wear when it comes to that, but that doesn't mean that they're out of it just yet. Only down one round and the opportunity to tie it up here. They're going to be getting things once again on the library side as gatorada will be playing defense. He's got Anitun in tow, holding down the library balcony as well.
gatorada going to very quickly abandon that position in the inside of the library, though. Too much pressure coming in too quickly from the Soniqs members, so does need to fade away. Back down to the first floor here is now Rexen, as well as Kanzen, more likely moving into the library in a second to try and take control. gatorada doesn't completely move away from this position, however. He's going to go back up through the blue stairs and retake up the connector spot to support Anitun, who's still going to be outside in the standard hold for this library position. But look at this from Yeti, sneaking right in. It was red again by gatorada, but Yeti's got the better aim this time. Shuts out gatorada and puts Soniqs up at a 5v4 advantage.
Heck of an adjustment there. He starts high and just flicks right down. Fantastic from him, but still a long road ahead still inside of this round. Round 6. And 50 seconds remaining. They'll be at least have the initial pick, but the CYCLOPS have been able to fight back inside of this game thus far, and I'm expecting this round to be no different. Rexen's going to begin Jackal tracking a few folks on the defense, and it's going to get some deep intel, at least for the top floor. I believe it's onto Ayagator or Anitun, one of these two on this side of the map, but either way, it's not going to be a push through for the Soniqs just yet, all except for Gryxr, who's starting to push forward for office, and he's actually made it very, very far forward. I don't even think that Anitun knows that he's here. He's going to start progressing forward inside of Piano, but oh no, it's going to be from behind. He sees the gun barrel. He just has to step up to the plate, but not aware. Rexen's able to get the refrag, and they'll also get a mark inside of Solarium, and more than likely going to be the CYCLOPS ditching this area.
Rexen trying to predict to where that final ping was going to end up roaming towards. Unfortunately, a little off the mark. Once again, the CYCLOPS taking the passive route about things. The ping player folding back from Solarium onto the first floor once again, not choosing to take the fight, choosing to play this out for the long game. Keep in mind, they're on a first floor defense right now. Only one more step, really, that Soniqs need to complete themselves towards, and they are in position, ready to execute. But by keeping all 3 of the remaining CYCLOPS players downstairs, it's going to make it that much harder for Soniqs to get their confidence necessary to push forward. They're going to have to commit drones like they're doing right now. They're going to have to really try and lock down these CYCLOPS positions. And mind you, that drone intel only has about a 5 to 10 second expiry time on it. So with SuzuC constantly moving around here, Soniqs will lose their execution capability just as quickly as they gain it. But the top-down angle is starting to pay out here. We can see BlackRay taking a lot of heat. He's forced into the back of Trophy at under 50 HP. No one from the Soniqs able to fully lock him out, though. And keep in mind, we still have Ayagator down in the basement with a Nitro cell prepped to counter the first plant attempt. He'll be waiting for the sound more than likely. Supr's not going in yet. He's made this mistake a lot in the past, but now BlackRay going to be finished off on that top-down angle. Finally finished off. In come the smokes, but Ayagator stands ready. He'll hear the cue. Should have the Nitro ready to go. Kanzen will need to pick this up immediately. Nitro out. Should be a winner, and there we go. Kanzen, can he get it down in time? Yes! He puts it onto the ground, but now he needs to hold it here. SuzuC going to try to get aggressive, but it's countered by Rexen, and now that plant should go down, putting us into a post-timer. Aya spotting it at the last second as well, but it doesn't matter. Rexen tears apart the last 2 players, and Soniqs take the round.
He's just nasty. He's just nasty. Triple or a quad inside of that, just a whirlwind of frags coming from him that were a necessity for the Soniqs to win that round. He was a saving grace for them. No one else really having a hand inside of that ordeal.
Really great stuff there once again, showing up from the Soniqs roster, and it was looking a little dodgy there at the end too. CYCLOPS, considering the hand they were dealt, especially as it went down to the 3v5 there, played it in the correct way, took the passive step, tried to use their utility to the best capability they had, but it seems Soniqs accounted for every possibility and was able to trade that out for a win. That puts us at a 3-3 tied half as the teams will switch sides.
Yeah, honestly, did not expect this one to come through, especially with the Sonics being on offense. I thought it was going to be a pretty tough road for the Cyclops, but they've surprised me, especially in stark contrast to what we saw from earlier today on Clubhouse. This is looking like a much better version of Cyclops, but now we need to see what they can do on this offensive side. And we're getting the very first showing of what's going on here, and Anitun back to his shield antics.
No surprises there, considering how well it did work out for it. I do want to give a nice shout out as well to the great Cyclops. In fact, I think Sonics is running it on one of their guns, as they were saying before, so go ahead into the Rainbow Six store. Feel free to check that out, as they're available now, along with all the other amazing skins from this drop on the Rainbow Six Share program.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you get to support every single team across the entirety of Rainbow Six Esports. Go in there and check those out. There's cool skins for every single gun in the game. But let's get right back into this, guys. We're done with the halfway point now as we jump into round 7. Sonics on defense, and their setup actually looking kind of similar operator-wise to the Cyclops when it comes to some of these defenses. We've got the Frost being worked in, as well as the Alibi along for the ride, and one that's been happening more and more often recently, Ela.
Starting to see more and more of Ela specifically on the inside of this map, as it was picked up at least once by Cyclops, I believe, during the very first round in the first half there as well. So we'll see how the Sonics are able to use it, and, well, the answer's quite well. Yeti finds a very quick opening pick here against Ayagator after trying to get aggressive on that balcony repel. Pays the price for it, and now Anitun going to have to try and move in right now alone through the front door. I believe there should be one more player somewhat close by for the Cyclops here, but yeah, they're moving in from library side instead, and this is now going to put the test onto Rexen, which we can see, though, great counters coming out onto the Kairos. Thought he was going to lose this position, but thankfully has the teammate support there from Gryxr to make sure that that does not go away.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult for the Cyclops to try and take Gryxr out of this hole. Be able to hold on to this for quite some time, and more than likely going to have to do something about it, whether it be a blue stairs push or what, we'll have to see. But now Anitun moving up behind the man on the library balcony and losing a lot of his life in the process. Oh, this is still very problematic, and he ends up losing his life here, ends up getting shot in the foot and taken down, but Trade's pursuing back and forth. Rexen's going to do a lot of damage to SuzuC, though, as CAG will finally pop off, bringing us down to a 3 versus 2. Super and Yeti, the last two remaining for the Sonics. It's Super currently in sight of sight on the Rooney. Yeti will at least be able to make it back as the dust starts to settle from these earlier engagements. The Cyclops now have a lot to do when it comes to breaking things up, but they're going to try and get aggressive, although we will both get baited here, and it will be a hologram.
He ends up running back away from that position relatively quickly afterwards due to the loss of both Gryxr and Rexen that occurred over towards the library position. Just far too many Cyclops players moving into that position far too quickly. Overwhelms the both of them. Brings the Sonics down to a former shell of what their defense was going to be prior to that play. But the Cyclops don't seem too confident to throw themselves into the site just as of yet. Here they've already seen what Yeti can do with this weapon. They've yet to see Super make an impact on the inside of this round, but they know he's going to be lurking in the back of the site somewhere. They want that full intel before they commit to it, and more importantly, they want to make sure this plant goes down without too much of an issue. Yeti, though, starting to counter it back out. SuzuC still very close to getting the diffuser on the ground and will succeed in doing it. Now, though, trying to counter out the post-plant positions. BlackRay very much ready for that, but Super also coming in, downing SuzuC, doing some great damage over to BlackRay. Can't follow it up, though, and at low HP. BlackRay instead gets the win this time. Cyclops take the round.
Oh, man, I heard the frustration on that one, John. Punching the mouse pad on that. Just ends up stepping out of the angle before the pistol animation can switch there, and just extremely unfortunate. He was that close to winning out that 1 versus 2, but just could not get it done. The Cyclops jump ahead once again.
Cyclops taking that lead by only 1 round, to be fair, but the Sonics coming very, very close until the mid-round misplay where they lose so many players in the exchange towards library. They unfortunately just don't have the manpower necessary at that point to stop the plant from going off or try to delay the timer any further, so they try to play into the post-plant. Yeti even has a great read on the situation, but unfortunately for him, BlackRay and the rest of CIG had a better read, immediately countered him out in Super. Unfortunately, although he comes very close, is not able to clutch out the 1v2.
Well, what's the answer now for the Sonics? Obviously, the Cyclops, I mean, it was messy, we'll be honest, but they're able to get it done, and that's what matters at the end of the day. That's a roundup for them and a continuation of this map. They'll change up some utility as well, as SuzuC will switch over to the Dokkaebi. Anitun going to continue to rock the Monty as well, although I want to see him be just a touch more passive in the way that he plays. Not in the way of his movement and his spacing, but in the way that he is using the deployable or his retractable shield. You know, being aggressive with it isn't a bad thing, but the issue is he's running into a lot of problems when it comes to trying to deal with these Sonic members. The other thing is, though, they've done a very good job, especially on the defense side, of coordination with the shield, so I expect to see this more often going through the offense.
So let's see here if the Cyclops can keep things rolling for themselves. They'll be spawning out in just a moment. Obviously, Rexen adding another wrinkle into this once again, as we'll see the Frost Mats come into play one more time. Did not manage to trip up the Cyclops members at all in the previous round when it was deployed, however, so I doubt it would necessarily cause that to happen here. It's more in those tense, last-minute situations where the Cyclops players might not be fully thinking about every step they take, and it's that one misstep onto the Frost Mat is all the Sonics need to capitalize upon that and get themselves an outright kill. The early aggression, though, we're going to see the Cyclops members trying to put a little bit towards Solarium. Very passive for the most part, though. Just gatorada trying to swing into it himself. And Kanzen was here to resist it, but Kanzen goes chasing a drone a little bit, so that's probably going to give full Solarium control over to the attackers.
And Kanzen not able to get rid of the drone, but also doesn't want to risk his life for trying to crawl around the piano, and you can't exactly blame him for that one. He'll get back to his post at the top of blue stairs and hold on to the Goyo shield for the time being. As for the Cyclops, they've been able to take some top control, most notably over towards the north side of the building, like John was talking about before, and it's going to be gatorada on the clear here. SuzuC is also in tow, but he's going to be on rappel, manning the library hall window. He's going to pop that open soon enough, and well, we'll have to start seeing what CAG wants to do with this map control. But the thing is they have to deal with this entire top hold that the Sonics are currently abusing. But looks like that is going to be the case right now for the Cyclops. This is the next thing on their checklist.
See here as already moving through the first minute, and once again these teams will struggle to find any actual impact against each other. Just trying to quickly knock out as much utility as possible, as well as struggle for that map control here. We can see, though, the hard lock positions is what Cyclops are starting to approach next. You've got Rexen in the corner of the library in the unexpected spot. Yeti as well, playing into the default position just outside in the library hallway. Cyclops definitely aware of some of this, but to what extent, we won't know until they start to move their way in. The Goyo shield in the middle of the library, though, going to be detonated. That won't cause problems for either of the nearby players, but still is going to make them far less secure. We can see even more pressure from the Sonics coming in here, as well as Kanzen will continue to hold the blue steps pressure against SuzuC's push right now. Yeti with a Nitro Cell thrown up top catches the first. Rexen as well as Yeti, they're tearing him to shreds right now. It's gatorada, BlackRay, now SuzuC fall. Anitun able to get one trade going with this measly little sidearm, but that might be all he's going to be able to get for himself. Although, a nice shot against Yeti. What is this right now from Anitun? A quick headshot, a flick headshot onto Gryxr. With 45 seconds left, though, a grim reminder needs to be stated here, and that's that Anitun still needs to get on site, still needs to try and plant this case. And we'll see how far he can get here as he's ready to try and drop down. Nope, we'll take the stairs route instead. He's got a player right around the corner here. You can see from the outline. And doesn't know that for sure just yet. They're trying to be so cautious. There's so many angles where Sonics members can swing out against him here. So he's wanting to double check everything. And there we go. Gets his third on the round now. Rexen goes down, still being very, very cognizant of the fact that there could be a fight coming from the bottom of blue stairs. And finally meets his match to Super. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that went as far as it did, but it was fun to watch, to say the least.
All these new skins in this game. I didn't know they added John Wick as Monty. Like, wow, that was so very impressive. That's not something you see very often. So fantastic stuff from him. And gutted that that didn't lead to a round win for them, obviously, because that was a lot of influence from that one shield player. But the Sonics just so strong early on inside of these engagements. I love the idea here from the Sonics to try and get, or from the Cyclops, to try and get aggressive by smoking off library hallway and preventing Kanzen from holding down the cross. But the push into library was extremely lackluster.
All right, well, let's see here. What exactly we're going to see for our next upcoming round? Who is going to be able to take an advantage? More importantly, it's looking very, very similar to the Team 1 matchup now, where these teams are just going back and forth and back again at each other to try and claim a lead. Overtime certainly in the cards for this matchup. We will have to hold for a moment and wait and see exactly what these teams are going to bring to the table for this round. Looking like it's going to be another kitchen and dining room hold, so a very extensive play needs to come out from the Sonics roster.
Yeah, extensive and expansive. That's the biggest thing. They need to spread out a lot here, especially towards that top floor. You do not want CAG grabbing a hold of that. They have quite a bit of soft destruction here that'll be easily abusable if they're able to achieve that. They're also going to be bringing Nomad along for the ride on SuzuC, and Anitun switching off of the Monty.
We're going to be in a short pause from the looks of things. I believe this is going to be a tactical, but stand by and we'll get confirmation on the screen in just a moment. And yep, it is indeed a tactical timeout for the Cyclops roster here. Probably a good time to take it. This is a very pivotal point in the matchup here, where that was a pretty definitive win, in my opinion, at least for the Sonics right there. We don't want rounds like that repeating itself, especially with this already being so close to 7 rounds for either team. Let's figure out what went wrong there, make sure it doesn't happen again, and hopefully continue to trade rounds back and forth. And if we have to, battle all the way to OT. But obviously in Cyclops' mind, they're wanting to take full control at this point.
I think this is a much more interesting game than a lot of people were going to give it credit credit for. There's probably a lot of people tuning in right now that are like, what the hell happened? How did we even get here? But, I mean, I can tell you one person that's very, very happy about this. Dev Marta. Dev Marta is very, very happy about this. Shout out to you, Dev, and all of your love for APAC, my friend, because they're doing it. They are doing it. CYCLOPS up 4-4 right now against the Soniqs as we get back into things. They've had their discussions, and they feel like they can propel themselves forward. And, well, just erase your memory from what we talked about from that previous lineup, because we've got to have a lot to talk about now, especially with the adjustment from Anitun away from Monty. He's now playing Capitao. This entire board has basically been changed. We have SuzuC now on Buck, BlackRay with Zoe. We have Ash and Nomad to round it out as well, so going to make it a little bit more difficult for the Soniqs to try and spin around the map and get these frags like they once were.
Curious to see if we're going to see a very execute-heavy setup as well, considering that we brought Capitao into the fold, but that can be used just as potently for trying to move players out of positions here. Talk about something else as well. We had this issue in the last game for Team 1 as well, but at the moment, Ayagator struggling. But you can say the same thing for Supr on the other side, and even Kanzen, or excuse me, even Kanzen to some extent there, as both of them are sitting low on the frag totem pole as well here. We'll check back in with them later on in the matchup here, but certainly causing smaller issues, just not being able to contribute as much as the individual players would have liked.
Yeah, it's a hard knock life for Kanzen and Supr right now, but as you were talking about, you can toss a couple of names inside of that bin. So SuzuC also being one of those names as well. But we're about 40 seconds into the round now, though, so we're starting to get a better understanding of exactly what the Soniqs want to do with this defense, and it looks to be more aggressive than previously. Also, Rexen going to be playing the Rook with the 2.0 scope. We don't get to see that one too often on defense, but he has it on the MP5, and he's ready to take these long-distance engagements.
Could be good considering how tense the engagements have been between the two teams and how much has come down to just pixel-perfect movements to find a headshot and possibly determine an early or mid-round advantage for either team, even a round outright win if the situation is right for it. We can see again, those pings coming out here to try to assist our attacking squad, and Rexen trying to thrive upon that by looking for the lineup, but unfortunately never really coming his way. So not going to be able to find anything off of those alibi pings. And we'll continue to patiently wait out this timer as CYCLOPS also focusing heavily on their drone work now that they've been able to establish a sort of base camp to work off of here. Anitun also with a good start there, working on the Capitao, picks up the first kill against Supr here, bringing it down to a 5v4. BlackRay pushing it even further now with an additional pickup. Rexen going to try to rotate and get aggressive against this, and that's a good pick. That drops the case, but he loses another teammate just as quickly, and now is the only one left standing here. A 1v4 set before him. Like I said, the case went down on the ground. He's probably making the assumption right now that it's already been picked up. The recheck on it, gatorada gets close, but it's SuzuC from up on top to shut it down, as CYCLOPS respond beautifully to the previously lost round with one of their own to try and take the lead again.
It was literally hailing bullets inside of Kitchen there for a second. You had 3 separate bodies of CYCLOPS just pouring down rain inside of that position. Fantastic stuff from the CYCLOPS to be able to break that up. And led off with a very big kill onto Supr inside of sight. He just cannot get away from these deaths. I gotta feel bad for him at this moment in time because the CYCLOPS are simply just hunting him down. It seems like there's always just one little area that they're able to slip through and start to get the ball rolling. But now for the CYCLOPS, they're going to jump ahead yet again here, and they're 1 round away from putting us on map point.
CYCLOPS starting to look strong, especially after the previous round's performance, but that strength has faded away just as quickly in following rounds, as we've seen this scoreline remain so close. Going to be seeing Yeti bring out the Elo once again, and it's more than that as well. Gryxr still staying on the comfy pick with the alibi in play here, not to mention Kanzen bringing the Frost back into the fold as well. So Soniqs definitely looking to try and frag out here as much as possible when we spread their operator lineup and see just how mobile and how utility focused we're going to be, especially with pre-round utility. Pretty much all this going to be set before the round even starts here within the next 12 seconds, and then they won't have to worry about it in the late round.
Absolutely, my friend. But now CYCLOPS going to be let out the gates, and we'll be off to the races just for these last couple of rounds. Round 10. We're on currently. Moving forward, though, with the Soniqs and what they are bringing to the table, it's going to be more of the same in which we saw before. Supr and Kanzen cannot get away from these score lines right now. But if you look across, it's quite similar when it comes to the CYCLOPS, although SuzuC starting to find quite a bit more impact as he's not only gotten a plant, but he's also up to 4 kills.
So with the relative quiet of that early to mid-round situation approaching us here, CYCLOPS going to continue to try and see if they can catch anyone from the Sonics. Let's keep in mind, still a very mobile team right now. You can see that specifically with Yeti and Kanzen constantly moving across the map here to try to set up better positions now that they're starting to get a more accurate read as to the early pushes from CYCLOPS, which is leaning heavily, and I really want to emphasize that, really heavily on the Solarium side right now. 3 drones exploring that option too. We could see a quick execute here from the CYCLOPS if they want to speed things up, as they haven't tried to go for that type of an attack yet.
Well, it's going to be a clear out of trophy, but no bottom cut. That's kind of a mishap there for CAG. They're still going to be able to get Yeti and Anitun just fry super. Poor guy just lost his entire head there. Either way, though, CAG are able to break this up on the north side of the map, and now Sonics on the back foot. They need to refrag here. They have to get some kills under their belt, and it looks like it's not coming anytime soon. Kanzen's starting to get lit up as the rest of the Sonics are just trying to hold on inside of sight. Rexen, currently sitting right outside of West Main, has an opportunity here to play spoils for CAG, but now before Ayagator has something to say about it, he'll take down Gryxr, and now Rexen with a lot to do, but BlackRay, oh, what a great play from him. He's going to prone inside of West Main. It's a flawless from the CYCLOPS, and John, it's looking like the CYCLOPS might be taking this map.
The CYCLOPS certainly pulling away with the scoreline at a minimum here. These past 2 rounds performance, it's looked very, very clean for this roster hailing out of APAC. Now we need to wait and see if they can get that one final round. Interestingly enough, same exact position the Sonics were in their previous matchup here. Sonics were unable to translate it here in regulation. Had to go all the way to OT to settle it. We'll see if the same fate will fall the CYCLOPS here, or if they can get it done in a bit of a cleaner fashion with a potential 7-4 or 7-5 win if they can take it in the next 2.
Man, ever since we switched sides, it's been very difficult for the Sonics to try and win these opening engagements. The only thing that we have seen them win thus far is when we saw Anitun just absolutely go off with Monty and ends up killing, I think, 3 people inside of that 1v4.
Yep.
So, you know, they end up winning that, but past that, CYCLOPS have been so very dominant in these opening engagements, and it's just forced Sonics into this extremely bad neighborhood, man. They cannot drive out of here. It's so very difficult. They can't get refrags. There's just no opportunities left for them when CYCLOPS are able to get a lead like that.
It's too conjoined right now for the CYCLOPS as well. You're not finding individual members of the CYCLOPS exploring parts of the map on their own. You're seeing a whole big group of, at minimum, 3 to 4 players.
And it's hilarious, right? Because of what we heard the Sonics talking about. Like, hey, man, they're going to be playing by themselves. We just need to really capitalize on their isolated players. And that has been the exact opposite of how the CYCLOPS have played this, especially from the offensive side. The defense, yes, we did see quite a few people
took them a while to figure things
around
out
the map and that kind of stuff. But yeah, as you said, it took them a while to be like, okay, the Sonics can't deal with us if we're together. And so far, it's proven correct.
So we'll see here. CYCLOPS, will that be the winning strategy? And more importantly, will we see any winning adjustment work its way into the round from the Sonics roster themselves? They're still taking up very aggressive positions up on the top hold inside of Library, and it's pretty much going to be immediately contested here. We're already going to see gatorada going upstairs onto the balcony. Won't be able to swing directly into the Library just as if you had. That would be a little too bold, but the rest of the team still setting up to already put a decent amount of pressure onto both the second and first floor areas of this map.
Well, CAG beginning their clear of the library area. Have to worry about Rexen inside the corner here as well. He has an ADS intel to be able to assist with this, as well as Yeti for the cross angles. You guys can kind of see how they've set up this entire area to support each other. Obviously, Kanzen also going to be on the blue stairs, so if we do try to send anything inside to try and get a cross set up or try and get some hard breach down on that wall to deal with Yeti's positioning, then it will be removed post-haste from them. CAG, though, continue trying to apply pressure to these members. Rexen trying to leave the area, but just very little bits and pieces of his HP getting dwindled away here, but really nothing to call home about just yet. Not even down to 75 HP, but as soon as I say that, Yeti will lose his life to gatorada, I assume, on the library balcony.
Not the sign that the Sonics wanted to have to work in here, but Yeti, again, has been one of the more aggressive players for the team. He's usually been one of the first to take these fights in the first swing, so it's not the be-all, end-all of the round just yet. However, it can't be a good sign. Great trade, though, coming in, but no, it's saved instead. SuzuC takes down Rexen just when he was about to finish off gatorada. Very good chance we can actually see gatorada get retrieved, but unfortunately in that tough corner. If he can make it to the hatch, maybe, but at this point in the round, they're focusing on trying to close this out rather than get him back into the fight here. Kanzen, with the next trade, takes down Ayagator, evens things out here for the Sonics if we are to assume that gatorada won't be brought back up. That'll put us in a 3v3.
I don't believe we're going to see them try and go for this play just because of the positioning of specifically Super down here. Bar stock, if anyone tries to go for that res, he's more than likely going to get an audio cue, and that's more than likely going to be more bodies going down, but we'll have to see.
No.
Ready for the swing, but does Super go fishing as well? Here's where things could be extremely problematic. They'll be able to get Gatorada up as well, so a 4v3 going forward. That's also going to give them the hologram back, which is fantastic for this situation. They'll be able to read out and suss out a lot of the positioning of the Soniqs members, specifically this roam game going on right now. Gryxr currently offsite. He's all the way in the basement, I assume, but obviously Super still rocking that site play. Kanzen, though, going to be holding on to the actual site, but not before Super ends up losing his life. And by actual site, apologies, Kanzen actually over by Blue, trying to refrag, and he'll be able to at least get one, but not the true suspect, in which got the previous kill. Tries to go for the pre-fire, but Gatorada has the Overwatch already locked up. It's down to the 1 versus 3 for Gryxr.
All onto him here as he tries to rush his way back into the site. Post plan is winnable here as he's able to catch SuzuC before he can successfully get outside. This is the issue, though. The other two players are the real problems as he's going to have to try and rotate back upstairs. He knows this, though. Gets aggressive a little bit late on the reaction. Is not going to be able to trade any damage back to himself. Trying to hide from the drones just in case there is a preset one that he isn't aware of out and about right now. Anything he can obscure is going to play in his advantage here, but he's quickly running low on time. He needs to be more aggressive, but at the same time, the low HP does not enable him to do that. Anitun shuts down the final kill, and this map is going over to CAG as they take control towards the end of regulation.
CAG is simply more consistent inside of gunfights. A very lackluster showing from
especially
two
at the end
members.
here.
Yeah, especially on this offensive side. It was beautiful to watch them play. But for the Soniqs, they simply couldn't get anything done, man, especially when it came to Super and Kanzen. I mean, just look at the scoreboard here. Kanzen 3-10-5 and Super 2-10-2. Just could not win out their ones, and it just became a huge issue that CAG was able to exploit.
You really got to give credit to whoever called it. Obviously, I'm not super familiar with the leadership team for CAG here, but you really got to give credit to the leadership team there for the switch up after the pause, because that was when everything changed up. That was when they started playing together. That was when they started making these combined pushes, and as a result of that, they started winning rounds, and I don't think they lost a single one past that point, and even if they did, it was very, very closely fought. Excellent adjustment from them, and a very well-deserved win here with 11 rounds played out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just so much interesting stuff happening in that. Honestly, like the minutia of that game overall was just awesome to see, especially from the Cyclops side. I like a lot of the adjustments that they went through, and just kind of like the little intricate things like, hey, let's go away from the shields, let's start getting more guns. I feel like we can win this out simply inside of our gunfights, and it worked out for them.
And unfortunately for the Soniqs members, trying to play that back a little bit more passively toward the end, trying to, again, take notes from their opponents, trying to play together themselves, doesn't pan out there. They're still too separated on the site, still gives CAG the capability to isolate out those players one by one and whittle them down as we saw over those past few rounds. So really great adjustments from them to be able to take control of this matchup and really make this group kind of interesting, because now we're going to have a bunch of teams very, very close to each other at the end of day one. BDS, the only real clear leader out of this group now.
Yeah, BDS 2-0 on the day, and obviously you guys saw the Cyclops here as well as the Soniqs, and they are both 1-1. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. We still have a lot of group stage left.
We still have the whole second run of this, but that'll be played in a few days' time. We still have more matches coming up later today as well. We'll have to round out our other group's action for the day, but that'll be coming up in just a little bit here as we continue to discuss the great action that we just saw there between the Soniqs and the opponents they just took down.
So Super and the rest of the Soniqs not able to make the adjustments up against CAG, and it really feel like they were more reactionary than proactive, but I have a couple of people that can probably answer that for me. So we're going to send it over to Monty and the boys to see what's going on the analyst desk.
I'm not one of those people who can answer it for you. But fortunately, I'm joined with a couple guys who are, and I can ask them questions. That's my power, I guess.
That's what we're here for, right?
It's a pretty lame power, I have to say.
Well, we appreciate it still. I mean, you're a valuable part of this.
To a certain extent, you still get to control what we say.
Do I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Cool.
What do you want to talk about?
What should I make you say?
I mean, what do you want to talk about?
Let's start off with Cyclops, because there were kind of two directions that you guys thought they might be able to go into this game, which is either double down and actually play their more aggressive style and really push it to the limit, or are they going to make some adjustments to international competition? Which one did you see here?
A lot of it I did feel like was some of that adjustments, because the rounds that they won on attack, which is mostly where they found success in this game, came from them not being as aggressive as we've known them to be. A lot of it was making sure they had crossfire set up on Chalet, which, for it being as big of a map as it is also something that the Soniqs have to focus on themselves. It's a very fundamental part about how you play Chalet. And Cyclops, as time went on, like, they were stalling out a lot of Soniqs momentum. That's crucial for a team that's as emotional as they have been. week in and week out in the North American League. So the fact that CYCLOPS are able to not only stop any momentum from the Sonics while also playing a little more structured kind of in a step-by-step process meant that they could stall what's like everything Sonics had.
Yeah, I definitely thought that CYCLOPS were reeling it in a little bit, right? It definitely felt like they were less willing to go for wild swings, stuff that didn't make any sense. I also think Sonics gave them less opportunities, and Chalet, maybe the way it's laid out in general, made it a little bit more difficult than against BDS on Clubhouse, right? So CYCLOPS didn't really get those opportunities as they did the first time. It led to a lot more Sonic plants going down. It meant that those the flank watch was a little bit less important, but it still felt like CAG had that old style, and when they got to attack, I really did appreciate their speed and aggression.
And that was the last match that we have for Group A today. And guess who's in second place now?
Is it CYCLOPS?
Yeah, they had a clean win here.
They made it.
So, you know, because the Sonics did win the last match, but it was an OT, so they got 2 points for that, 0 points for this one, 1 point for Team 1 for the OT loss, and then we had the two wins by BDS early on. So that means this group really wide open. 3 points for CYCLOPS, 2 for the Sonics, and 1 for Team 1 so far.
The result is really, really good for CYCLOPS, I think, because they're going to be able to face the Sonics again, but the problem is they won't be able to do the exact same thing that they did. I'm going to be curious to see, once we get into the rematches from this group, about whether teams are going to be inclined to maybe go back to the same maps or try one that has a very similar, you know, step-by-step checklist, so to speak, in terms of how you attack it. In this case, though, I'm really, really pleased to see, especially Anitun on the shield play. He had both a Monty and a Clash. The Monty play almost worked, and the Clash was, Jesse will bring it up later, one of the best Clash plays you've ever seen?
Yeah, it was really solid, and so I like that adaptation coming in from CYCLOPS. It's classic CAG, right? But we saw that there, and I think on the side of Sonics, I mean, you're seeing a couple of these players jumping up in the kill department, Rexen, Gryxr, and Yeti. It's kind of their core players, right? You expect those guys to get the kills, and I was kind of highlighting ahead of time that Yeti was this player that needed to step up big for Sonics in this to try to shut down some of that CAG aggression, and I didn't think that was really the role he played here. I thought that was more Kanzen's job because he was playing that line in there.